The wild and wonderful state of West Virginia is known for its endless miles of natural beauty. Among these ancient mountains lies a wilderness just waiting to be explored. I am thrilled to return to this part of the country to explore West Virginia's very own national park, New River Gorge, as well as other dramatic landscapes throughout the state. This new mini-series will feature travel guides to numerous waterfalls, scenic vistas, and historic destinations over the course of 3 days. Day 1's itinerary includes Pricketts Fort State Park, which features an 18th century recreation of the original Pricketts Fort, which provided a place of refuge from Native American attack. Valley Falls State Park, once the site of a lumber and grist mill community alongside Tigard Valley River with numerous waterfalls and rocky river hikes. And finally, our tour of the Glade Springs Resort, a sprawling, luxurious golf course featuring limitless recreation opportunities in southern West Virginia. Although this weekend excursion was short, we checked off a lot of bucket list destinations within this incredible state. Now let's begin by taking a look into the history of this region. Pricketts Fort State Park, located 5 miles north of Fairmont in Marion County, features a reconstruction of the original Pricketts Fort, which served as a place of refuge during colonial times. This historical park commemorates late 18th century life on the Virginia frontier. Perched on a small rise overlooking the confluence of Pricketts Creek and the Monongahela River, this rustic log fort served as a refuge from Native American war parties on the western frontier of Colonial Virginia. Built in 1976 by the Pricketts Fort Memorial Foundation, the new fort serves as a living history site where interpreters recreate late 18th century lifestyle through period attire and demonstrations of a variety of colonial crafts. Throughout the season, visitors may find blacksmiths, spinners, weavers, and other traditional artisans at work, and a gun shop which features the only public demonstrations of 18th century firearm manufacturing in the state. The cost to enter the fort is $8 for adults and $4 for children. When the threat of Native American uprisings occurred, up to 80 families from the surrounding countryside would hurry to the fort. They would stay as long as the threat existed, for days or even weeks. Forting up was simply tolerated by settlers, as life in the cramped quarters could be unpleasant. Such sacrifices were necessary for survival on the dangerous frontier of the late 1700s. Welcome everyone to the beautiful Pricketts Fort State Park in gorgeous West Virginia. Sit back, relax, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for all the latest travel content. Join me for a new mini travel adventure. Hi. Here's a visitor center. All right, good morning everyone. Welcome back to West Virginia. We are at Pricketts Fort State Park, which is actually what the colonists used to kind of retreat back into when they were under attack by Native Americans and other indigenous peoples around this region of West Virginia. So this is a reconstruction of a fort from 1774. You can see it has different towers and the posts at each corner. Really tall wall as well. Not sure exactly how tall this is, but this state park, you're allowed to take a tour of this fort itself. So we're gonna go and do that today. Look at that. Pretty cool. So we're actually right by, close to Tigard Lake State Park, where we were last year in the fall. And check this out, we're gonna go in now through this fort. This is gonna be cool. Look at this. Look at this. This is beautiful. Look at all these little rooms and stuff over here. Jeez. It's gorgeous. Looks like they have some rough, raw cotton back there. Look how sweet this is. Yeah, it does.
Does it?
Yeah. Look at all these different rooms around here. Yeah. Look at this, guys. This is inside of one of the rooms. They got a little fireplace over there. Their dishes. And a small little bed. Wow. It's really cool looking. Look at that tower. Watchtower up there. It's pretty nice. It's like a double bed over there. Look, there's a little crib for a baby. Jeez. That must be the main, like, common area over there. Are you allowed to walk in? That's a nice little fireplace over there. These rooms are kind of cool, actually, on the inside. There's a little workbench. Probably where a blacksmith was. Look at that one, that's pretty cool. There's like some old clothing over there hanging up. Jeez. There's another one over here. Well, this one has a little stool and a chair. And a mantle. It's a nice one. Here's the inside of the watchtower. You guys can see there's a ladder that they used. And they would climb all the way up there. All the way to the top. Pretty cool. So this is what life looked like in the 18th century. It's kind of cool. Oh, look at that room. That's sweet.
This is neat, Dad.
I know, isn't this?
Really neat. I haven't been to one of these in a long time.
Look at that. What's that thing?
I don't know.
Looks like probably you put like a big piece of wood or something to work on. There's like a work table, you know.
A bench, yeah.
There's a nice antique bottle up there. Wow, look at this place. Oh, here's where the blacksmith worked. The forge. It looks like that's where it is. Right there. So they get all the... Where's the billows at? They're probably around here somewhere too. There's also another little cage over there for a little creature. I don't know what that is. Oh my god, look at this. That is cool. That's a nice fireplace.
Oh, that's sweet.
Alright, this is the storehouse here at Pricketts Fort. Let me show you. Inside you'll see that they have all kind of different gourds hanging. Look at that. That is so cool. They're all ready for the fall, as well as some of their equipment over here. These are nice shutters. Solid. So here's what it looks like, guys, inside. All the different gourds. And down here too, there's some. little pile. It's a cool place, isn't it?
It is cool. I like it. Every place has a fireplace. Every little one.
Yeah. They got all their clothes drying over there. Look at that, guys. So this is what it looks like. I like how they made that fireplace too. There's like different pieces of wood engraved in there. That's cool. Jeez. I saw that. Alright guys, we're getting around here on this side. Got another little bed and fireplace here. Pretty much they're all like cookie cutter cabins. They're all like copied from the previous design. They're pretty cool. Here's this building.
Good day to you.
Oh, good day. How are you doing, ma'am?
Pretty good.
This is amazing here, really. I just love this place. Look at this.
If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Hi.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Videoing, especially right there, you can see all the axe marks.
Oh, right out here?
See the wood?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
All those different axe marks.
That's because when they decided, or when they got the grants and everything to build this,
Yes, ma'am.
they sent out word that they wanted log cabins, old buildings, old anything.
Okay.
And there were 50 of them donated.
Wow.
So most of the wood, not necessarily the big rafters, but the wood in all the walls and in the blockhouses, it's donated from true log cabins.
Wow.
Probably 250 to
Jeez.
or so years
That's why it has that really antique look to it, because
Yes.
it's authentic.
Yeah.
because it is.
Yeah.
That's
right,
awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much for this information. That's really great. So this very informative lady that's here, she actually explained that this is a civilian fort because of the first name. You'll notice it says Pricketts Fort in the front, compared to a military fort, which would start with Fort, like Fort Pitts, Fort Bragg, etc. Look at this. This is like raw cotton over here.
Yeah.
That's raw sheep's wool.
Wow.
Sheep's wool.
Sheep's wool.
Is it natural color? Was it dyed? Was it dyed or no? It was natural color. Was the color differences dyed or is it natural color?
No, the brown
Yeah.
is buffalo fur,
Oh, wow.
It is. Wow.
That's buffalo
which is
fur.
what Miss Judy is spinning right now.
Okay.
Because the equivalent of our linen woolsey, which used to be linen plus wool,
Okay.
well, it was easier to get shed buffalo fur out here.
Okay.
Because we did have buffalo until 18.
Oh, look at
So this is how buffalo looks when it's woven in the material.
Right? Wow.
Now, it's not going to be striped. This is a sample we will put over here.
Okay.
When it's finished, we'll cut that off and put it over here to show.
Okay.
Now, some of these are pure linen, and some are linsey woolsey. This is blanket weight.
Oh, yeah.
That is
Feel
amazing.
Some thickness
Okay.
to it, yeah.
And then this is, well, I think most of these are linsey woolsey. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Is this an actual functioning machine? Is it working?
250 years old this year.
Wow, that's crazy.
And one of the things,
That is so beautiful.
open this a little so we can get some.
Oh, yes. I do see that.
See that told you that this piece went with this piece and your peg could go in the hole properly.
Okay.
Because all the holes for pegs are hand drilled
Okay.
and no two are identical.
Okay. Okay.
Because this piece absolutely matches the one straight across from it.
Right.
You had to know which side it went on to get your pegs back in.
Okay.
These were taken apart every fall because they were outside in a loom house.
Oh, I see.
And you would take them apart because you can't weave when your hands are freezing and there'd
Right.
be no heat in the loom house.
Sure.
And they were bundled up and wrapped up to protect.
Oh,
Jeez.
And then put back together in the spring. And in the winter, you'd take that big wheel, sit by your fireplace, and spin your wool or buffalo fur or whatever you had
That's amazing.
That's pretty.
to
What
get
was your
the
name, ma'am?
thousands of yards you would need to warp that up.
All right, guys, we just got a really awesome history lesson over here in the meeting house, right next door to the gun shop. Did we go in there yet?
No, we gotta go in there.
Look at this. Look at that old axe down there. That's pretty cool. Got plenty of firewood out here. That's cool. There's a shot of the gate looking out there, Pricketts Fort. All right, guys, we're gonna go and check out the gun shop. This should be pretty cool. Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the trading post.
All right, thank you, sir.
Cool place, man. Really cool.
Yeah.
This place is awesome.
If you have any questions right off the bat, you're of course free to let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them for you.
All right, thank you, sir.
I'm sure you've already noticed the fact that, as per the name, we do have things for sale on here.
Oh my
Don't worry, You don't
gosh.
have to pay in furs.
That's amazing. You guys actually sell this stuff?
Yes.
Jeez.
Stuff along the counter and shelves. Not the furs themselves, though.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to buy these anyway. They've been here way too long.
Right, right. These look like little wallets or something. Actually need a new wallet.
I will also mention that back in the day, odds are they most likely wouldn't have sandpaper that had logos on the back.
yeah.
Instead, sandpaper they're going to make are indeed just grains of sand that are just stuck onto a piece of paper.
Okay.
And most likely glued on with, say, some kind of tree sap, things like that.
Okay.
Because, of course, sand is very, very helpful in a lot of different things.
Right, right. This is really amazing, man.
Yeah.
Talk about a cool job.
Yeah. And by the way, in case you happen to be interested, I can show you how you would load a musket and flint and steel fire starting.
Okay.
Also how you use a whetstone if you're interested in that sort of thing. Though, of course, that's very simple.
Yeah, that'd be perfect for the demonstration as well.
Sure. What was it you were interested in first? Now, this here is the British Brown Bess.
Okay.
This here you usually wouldn't see too terribly often, especially all the way out here on the frontier where most folks are working class and thus not really able to afford the brass parts and the fact that, well, this is shipped from overseas from Great Britain.
Right.
So I bet you can already tell just how taxed this thing is.
Oh,
For
gosh.
sure, for sure.
So odds are you would see, if someone out here wanted a musket for whatever reason, cheaper alternatives, or as a lot of folks out here did serve in the French and Indian War, they'd gotten this land as payment from the British government.
Okay.
You would have things like the French Charleville musket back there, the bottom of those two.
Okay. Oh, that one on the
Yeah,
bottom
yes.
down there. Yep.
That French Charleville musket would most likely be here because either later on during the Revolution, the French wanted to give us some help under the table, as it were.
Okay.
But a little bit after the French and Indian War, odds are, if you served in it, you might have picked up yourself a souvenir.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I see you got one of those hollowed-out cow horns.
Yes.
There's a guy I watch on YouTube called Outdoor Boys, and he made like a little water jug out of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Pretty cool.
I will also mention, I'm not too sure if you know already, but buffalo horn itself is actually very malleable if you steam it for a while.
Oh, okay.
That's why you can shape it into either flat sheets like this here, or
Okay.
little horn utensils.
Wow, you can get it that flat. That's crazy.
It almost looks like fiberglass.
I know.
Yeah. And actually,
comb.
sometimes sheets like that were somewhat used for glass.
Okay.
They were a much sturdier and perhaps slightly more valuable alternative to mica,
Okay.
which itself is pretty see-through, but it's also very fragile.
Yeah,
Odds
yeah.
are you'd have little flat sheets like that for use in something called horn books.
Okay.
Little leather pouches that have those horn pieces in front of them so that a student can look into them and see how their letters and words should look whenever they're trying to learn how to write.
Okay. Man, you guys are very knowledgeable.
Telling
You're
me.
like an expert, man.
Well, not quite. It's only my second year and I'm still learning, so.
Jeez.
Look at
Well,
you
you're really
bullets.
good at this
See
stuff.
how many bullets?
Well, I appreciate it.
Look at that.
Imagine getting shot with one of these. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Jeez.
That pierced the skin very easily.
That's crazy.
For what it's worth, that is a relatively small lead ball.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that. Like, I can't imagine something like this. It's square, basically.
Jeez. Looks like a rock almost.
Is it lead?
Heading to the Job House to do the
Yes,
tour.
these are lead. Not too sure if you guys were interested in the Job House tour, which she's going to. That's the brick home behind the
I
visitor
took a
center.
picture of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
If you guys want, you can go see that, and I'll be waiting for you here. After all, those tickets are good all day, so you're free to come on back after the tour if you'd like, or you can just
okay.
No,
continue.
you want to go check it out or not?
I'm gonna continue with this here.
fine,
Yeah.
that's
Sure.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Now, before you go, I will mention one thing on the subject of lead balls.
Okay.
Early on, the British and French infantry muskets are generally going to have very large calibers.
Okay.
Fortunately, the French later on did figure out that a 63 caliber will kill anyone about as dead as a 75 will.
Oh my gosh.
No need to go higher.
Yeah.
Now, for that matter, this lead ball here is still too small to be properly fit into a Brown Bess musket. In particular, this is the second model, I believe.
Okay.
Not only that, but a lead is soft enough that whenever it hits something, like say a bear or someone's chest, it will flatten out like a coin and gain about 50% extra size whenever it flattens out. Not only will it also have a chance of fragmenting and splitting off, but it's also going to, well, think a lead ball like this flattening out, that's going to make a golf ball sized hole in your chest.
Oh,
Right.
jeez.
Oh, man.
That's part of why amputations were so common back then.
Right,
You
right.
get hit in the or square in the arm and leg, and you're not going to be able to use that anymore.
That is messed up,
I
man.
never knew that about lead. Wow.
Because I always wonder, like, what, like in the Civil War and stuff, it seemed like everyone was getting amputations after every battle. It was like such devastating weaponry, really.
Yeah. Fortunately, at that point during the Civil War, we have advanced past line tactics. That is waiting for the other person to shoot at you across the field.
Yeah, yeah.
So, fortunately, you aren't going to see as many amputations. There's still plenty, and
Right.
of course, but
That was such a weird way too of like battle, like how they lined up and
strategy.
yeah,
The strategy.
I never understood that strategy. But this is really amazing, man. Thank you for this too. What was
Yeah.
your name?
Randall Wheeler.
Okay, I'm Lewis.
Good to meet you, Lewis.
Thank
From
you.
the area?
Yes, actually, I'm just 30 minutes down the trail. Not
Okay.
Pennsylvania or Kentucky right or long rifle.
Okay, the top one there. Okay.
Now, the difference between a rifle and a musket is that spinning down the inside of a rifle's barrel, you have the little grooves that will make the lead ball spin.
Okay.
Now, back then, there are of course not going to be nearly as many grooves as what you'll have nowadays, but they were enough to turn a Brown Bess musket, which could only shoot accurately up to maybe 80 or 100 yards, just barely the length of a football field,
Wow.
all the way up to 300 yards.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's really impressive. I mean, for that time period, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like
Now,
a sniper rifle.
Little
almost.
fun fact for you, by the way. As far as I know, the concept of rifling a barrel actually comes from rifling for crossbows, where
Okay.
you'd be able to put the grooves into around where the bolt is slid into, and that would let that spin.
Right.
This is essentially just something that the Germans brought in from, or German settlers that came into the area.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I will mention, even though the rifle had so much extra range over the muskets here, they still weren't very popular for infantry combat, and I'll tell you why once I get done loading with the musket here. Now, to be clear, when I say loading, this is a mock demonstration.
No, I understand.
Right,
Sure.
right.
If I wanted to load black powder every day just to show everyone how it's fired, then we'd be broke.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, this here gunpowder horn is not typically what you want to load with, especially if you're in the militia or serving with the infantry.
Okay.
That's because at the time, you had much better ways of loading because, for one, you're going to have to roughly eyeball the amount of gunpowder you need to load. I'm sure you can already tell how that could be dangerous.
Oh god.
Sure.
Now, not only that, but say that you're new to combat and your adrenaline's running through you and your hands are shaking,
Oh,
you're going to
God.
be spilling that all over yourself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Oh,
that's not
yes.
very good for your bank account, as it were.
And then the barrel probably exploded on people.
Actually, while the barrel most likely wouldn't explode unless you really went out of your way to cut or Wile E. Coyote yourself,
Yeah.
Odds, I will say there is something that could happen that was very unfortunate because you can underfill the barrel.
Okay.
Now, with smoothbore muskets, you usually didn't have this problem. Lead balls for smoothbore muskets had a whole lot more leeway with their size, but with a rifle especially, with how forceful you have to be to get the lead ball in, since it has to be cut into by those grooves,
Right.
you don't fill that up with enough gunpowder to send that lead ball out all the way.
Yeah,
And
then
it's going
Explode
to
in a chamber or in the stock.
even worse, actually, because while the barrel itself will be intact, that lead ball is going to be stuck inside.
oh
So
man.
you'll have to stop what you're doing, draw out your ramrod here, and you'll usually have a little attachment to screw onto the end here. It's essentially a screw head that you'll drill into the lead ball
Yeah.
once you shove it down inside,
Pull it out.
and you'll have to try and yank it out with all your force.
Oh my
You
god.
know how much time that would take? Oh, man.
Yes. And odds are, if you had to do that in the middle of battle, well, then you'd be dead.
Yeah,
Game over, yeah.
that's crazy, man.
Fortunately, though, if this happened to you while you were an officer, well, odds are you were using a pistol anyway, and
Yeah.
those were smoothbore. So odds are that wouldn't happen to you. That was most likely just something the rifles had, though. Odds are there were 1 or 2 occasions throughout the days that a musket had this problem.
Oh, okay.
Boy.
Now, as for the superior loading option, this here is a cartridge box. And inside, I have a paper cartridge, which is a lead ball at the bottom, gunpowder in the middle, and
Oh, it's like it's all
twisted off
ready
the
to go.
top.
That's
Yes.
sweet.
Gotcha.
You can think of it a whole lot like modern day magazines.
Right.
It's good for one shot, which,
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, unlike modern day magazines, you can't do more than one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, to start loading with this, all I'd have to do is reach into my cartridge box and pull one out,
Yeah.
instead of having to fumble between a whole bunch of different pouches and a gunpowder
yeah,
horn.
makes sense.
That's really smart, actually.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Now, at this point, to start loading, once I've fired my first shot, I'll reach forward to my hammer where my flint is, and I'll pull it until I hear one click.
Okay.
Now, the musket is half-cocked. Whole lot like modern-day safeties, you can't pull the trigger and scare yourself half to death.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a safety
Right, right.
Yes.
mechanism. Yeah, yeah.
I'm also sure you've heard of the phrase, don't go off half-cocked.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exactly right. Right.
Now, once you have this pulled in the back, that exposes the pan right in here. It's a
Okay.
little opening under where the flint was. And in this pan is where you'll reach into your cartridge box, bite off the end of your paper cartridge, hence why you wanted your teeth if you're in the militia or the military.
Right, right.
And you'll pour just a pinch of this into the pan. Whole lot easier and a whole lot safer than having to use a gunpowder horn.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, you'll take hold of your frizzen, your pan cover, and flip that over to keep your gunpowder safe, and also acts as what your flint here strikes against to make the sparks.
Wow.
Right.
Now, what that gunpowder is doing in that pan, it has fed through a little touch hole and into the barrel, and like I said, it's going to act as a fuse to catch the sparks that come later. That's
Right.
why it's called your priming powder, rather.
Yeah.
It'll form a fuse in the pan, and that'll prime it for detonation.
Got it.
Wow.
Now at this point, you'll bring it around, set it on the ground, and pour the rest of your gunpowder into the barrel. And then you'll
Okay.
shove the rest of your paper around the lead ball and shove all of that inside afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, that's important because as you draw your ramrod here, bring it up, grab it halfway and out, twist, and ram it down into the barrel like so, it'll pack everything down into the bottom of the barrel, and that paper will form a very tight seal.
Right.
Okay.
So instead of being able to bounce all around the inside of your barrel, that paper will make the lead ball fly straight out instead of, well, being like a pinball machine, which will
Right.
sabotage your accuracy.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll also serve to keep everything inside so that if you're aiming downhill, you don't see your lead ball roll out the other end on you.
Jeez.
Yeah. Right.
That is sweet.
So at this point, all you have to do to fire is pull your hammer back to full cocked, and now the trigger is live ready to be pulled.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can disarm it though if you've done this on accident. All you have to do is hold on to the hammer, pull the trigger a little bit to disengage the spring, let go of the
Okay,
trigger,
Okay.
and there it'd be half cocked.
Okay.
But in this case, say that a bear jumps out at me and I need to be quick, I'll go ahead and full cock it, and on the count of 3 from 1, I'll pull the trigger, and hopefully you'll see some sparks right around where this frizzen, the pan cover, is.
Yeah.
Count of 3 from 1. 1, 2,
Two,
3.
I saw
yeah.
that.
Sparks?
The
Yeah.
little spark. Yeah.
Generally, you want to get more sparks, but this flint's starting to get pretty dulled out, and
Yeah.
you're relatively on short supply. But that flint will scrape across this frizzen, the pan cover here, which will then enter the pan, the sparks that is. That'll go through the touch hole and into the barrel, detonate the gunpowder in there, and send your lead ball flying whatever you're aiming at.
Wow.
That's why you'll hear a kaboom instead of just one singular explosion.
Yeah.
Now, all of that work of this thing, and I want you to guess how many times you were expected to load this in 1 minute.
I couldn't even imagine. That's what the cartridge is,
Yes.
right?
Probably what, 2, 3 times?
3 times, that's right.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
Now, of course, this was relatively easy to do because at 3 times in a minute, that's roughly 20 seconds per shot.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're serving the militia, you're getting your practice through hunting, assuming you're using a musket anyway.
Right.
More likely is you'd want a rifle.
Right.
But if you're with the British or French military, then you're being paid to do drills with these things.
Oh, man.
So odds are you'd be able to surpass 3 shots in a minute. You'd be able to do 4. If you got really good, you might be able to do 5. And I've heard tell of it being possible to do 6 or even 8 shots in a minute.
That's
Oh,
So
man.
that's legendary status.
Oh,
and as
God.
legends
Yeah.
tend to be, they ain't always true.
Jeez.
So odds are you'd be able to do 4 shots in a minute. You might be able to get up to do a 5. And unless you were Louis Wetzel, you most likely couldn't do 6 and over.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. I couldn't imagine doing
It's
it.
I mean, you think of it as a very simple weapon, but there's a lot of moving parts to it.
Yes,
there's a
actually.
lot of.
With a rifle, you can't use paper. Paper doesn't expand out to fit into those grooves the same way that cloth does.
Right.
So you might think of getting yourself some cloth cartridges, just maybe tear some off of some spare clothes that you're not using, and try and use that until you get into a battle and you try and use it. You're gonna leave either on a wagon as a corpse or with dentures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead, you'd have to load everything separately, which, considering that line combat at the time period focused more on firing more often rather than accuracy, odds are you had very good reason to run away from the British, which the militias that the Continental Army got instead of wanted often did.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. Jeez.
It is insane.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much,
Oh,
brother.
this is awesome.
All right, guys, we just had pretty much an incredible experience at Pricketts Fort State Park, West Virginia. The 2 women that were inside, they were very informative, as well as the one gentleman that was working inside of the gun shop. They all provided a ton of information, really useful information too, about the history of this region, how to load a muzzle, as well as the history of some of the cotton gins that they utilized. Look at this.
That's a cool picture, actually.
Yeah.
The hillside carved out.
Yeah. There's a little creek down there.
Pretty wide.
I wonder if that connects to the Cheat River lake. Or, you know, the Cheat Lake over there? It's kind of cool. All right, guys. So it says the original Pricketts Fort was built in 1774 during Lord Dunmore's War on the land of Jacob Prickett. It provided protection for more than 80 neighboring families from Native American attacks. Though this fort was never attacked, there were many daring adventures here. The original fort was dismantled around 1799, and then the reconstruction was completed in 1976 for the American Bicentennial celebration. Just south of the fort stands Job Prickett House, which was built in 1858. So there's a little background information of this region. And now we're going to go to this deck, take a look at the river. It's pretty. Little peepholes in here.
Oh, this is a tour of the house. Can't see anything. That'd be It's kind of a cool shot.
Really? All right, we're going by the Job house and John Prickett's house. Look at all this coal back here. Look at that. There's a ton of it too. Oh my God, that's crazy. It's a beautiful house. Look at all that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. There's a fort in the background. I like those shutters they have.
I do too.
This house is nice. Straight ahead. I like the brick. I'm gonna go at the front. Alright, we're on the second floor inside the visitor center at the museum. Here's the family crest for the Prickett family. Pretty cool. Oh, and this is also shows you the timeline for the family. 1722, Captain Jacob, all the way until 1981. That's amazing.
I think that's limestone.
Wow, look at that. The old gravestone. This is really cool. I love these forts, these dioramas. So the two buildings in the center is where we had the tours with those ladies and the guy that showed us all the information. Really cool stuff. Look at that. An old button that they found. Various gun parts. It says just beyond the eastern wall of the fort, one can see the conjunction of Pricketts Creek and Monongahela River. No dams held back the streams in the early days. So crossings were accomplished by wading at shallow fords. Look at that.
Waiting to see how events would unfold, and allowing the peacemakers, both Indian and white, to have their say. But the pleas of the peacemakers were lost amid cries for war. On June 10th, Lord Dunmore,
18th century chain link. You see that?
Then on June 20th,
That's cool.
Dunmore authorized Major Conley of Fort Pitt to send an expedition against the Shawnee towns along the Scioto River.
Look at this beaver. Original beaver trap here. That looks pretty sick. You step on that pressure plate right there.
Logan, with a small band of hand-picked warriors, made his first strike. As it chanced from that very
You guys can see from this, it shows you all the forts around this area.
Sergeant William Robinson, Private Coleman Brown,
Look at them, there's a ton.
civilian Thomas Helen, had left the fort to harvest a field of flax along the Monongahela opposite Simpson's Creek.
It says at the time Prickett's fort was built, 1774, there were at least 100 forts, blockhouses in the Monongahela Valley.
Brown was instantly killed with a volley of
Wow.
musket balls, and his scalp taken by Logan himself, the first of 13 whom he would
1500s to 1600s, look at that. That's how a fort would look.
Robinson and Helen, meanwhile, were taken captive and led off across
Pretty cool.
the Ohio into Shawnee country. Here, Helen was forced to run the gauntlet, where he was beaten into unconsciousness, while Robinson was tied to the stake, preparation for torture and execution.
And there's a Monongahela plot over here, some pottery.
Stepped in and spared the sergeant's life by claiming the condemned militiaman as his adopted son. Strange as it may seem,
And here's some of the native tribes that were in this region.
their journey
They said the Shawnee attacked this fort, like a lot of the families that were in the fort. There's also the Wyandot, Cuyahoga, Sioux, Delaware, and Tuscarora. Between 1672 and 1728, the Iroquois nation forced all natives living in the area in the Ohio River and the Allegheny Mountains to leave. So they pushed them out of this region. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, look, they got a sickle. For getting the grain. We actually have one of those old sickles. Oh, jeez. Wow, torture devices.
One of these attacks took place about 2 months.
That's what it looked like.
Around the evening of September branding 1774.
Oh man,
Prickett's son Isaiah,
that's messed up.
and Mrs. Susan Oaks left the fort in search of a lost cat.
Look at these old plates,
Failed to return. A search party
dishes and stuff.
What they found
They give you a whole
was
timeline of the whole thing.
when Isaiah
Yeah, I know. Alright guys, here's a timeline here. 1636, North American slave trade begins. As you could see, 1600s, Josiah Prickett, Jacob's grandfather, arrives in America from England. 1654, Virginia courts grants African Americans the right to own slaves. 1669, John Lederer is the first European to enter present-day West Virginia. Over here, Jacob Prickett is born in 1722. Look at that, first settler in West Virginia, 1726. And it just keeps going over here. The family moves to the county, 1748. He does some exploring in 1752. You can see this is where all the wars started to break out here. But this is an old family, that's for sure.
Old as our country.
Yeah.
1,000 Indians led by Chief Morceau attacked Lewis's encampment of 1,100 men at Point Pleasant.
You can see here's where they move into the brick house that I showed you earlier. Civil War 1812, or April 12. And this is when he dies, 1894. It's a pretty long timeline.
Began his march up the Hockhocking Valley